Alrighty, guys, good to see you. Darren, Brian, thanks so much.
Thanks.
House Subcommittee on Capital Markets is holding a hearing this afternoon to determine the cause of last week's market plunge. Joining us from Capitol Hill is Republican Congressman Scott Garrett of New Jersey. He's ranking member of the subcommittee. Sir, good to see you.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.
I've got a headline here from the New York Times. Regulators vow to find ways to stop rapid dives.
There you go.
If the market had gone up 1,000 points, would you be holding this hearing?
Now, that's a very, very good question. Knowing this Congress and the majority, since the president said that some people just make too much money in this country, I bet you they probably would to find out who those people are making too much money and make them give it back or give it to the government.
That is pretty funny. Already we've heard Mary Shapiro's testimony. She says no single cause, no evidence for a fat finger trade. She does want greater consistency in the application of the circuit breakers. I'm sure you're aware of there doesn't seem to be much dispute between the NYSE and the NASDAQ over what happened. The NYSE slowed things down. That caused a bottleneck. The NYSE says that's great. That's how it should be because we get humans involved. And the NASDAQ says that stinks. The SEC decided in favor of the NYSE. They want circuit breakers for everybody. Is that a good decision on the part of the SEC? Should they be picking winners and losers?
Well, yeah, I'll be curious exactly how they, split their testimony on this, or how they come out with their testimony on this, because she's saying that they want circuit breakers for everyone, which is probably an okay thing to do, but really what you want to do is just to synchronize the markets, and I think that's where we'll be going from this hearing today. And I appreciate the fact that you actually had that little points up of all the things that's in her testimony already. I understand as well that the SEC says that they're really not going to have a final conclusion as to what really happened in this situation until next week. So today we're just going to get those bullet points as far as what they think may have happened. They're still looking at it, and at the end of the day, they'll probably come back with that bottom bullet point. Let's synchronize things.
Yes, sir. And speaking of the timing of that, doesn't this seem a little premature for you congressmen to start getting there and doing all the grandstanding that typically happens in these hearings? Why not wait until the SEC, the exchanges, come up with a full kind of explanation, and then you guys go ahead and review it? Why do it so early, sir?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one whatsoever. This is something what the majority wanted to do, to get out right away in front of it and see whether we bring these people in. I think you're right on the mark, and that'll be my comments at the hearing today, is that two things, in fact. A, we need to have the information, and we're really not going to have much information today. And B, the fact that this is nothing new as far as the fact that these entities have not had oversight for years now. And really what we probably should have been doing is for the last several years having the SEC come before us and tell us what are they doing, what are they looking at, what do they plan for the future. We haven't done any of that for the last several years, unfortunately.
Congressman, a lot of people think that although there was a glitch, quote unquote, in the system, whatever that turns out to be, that it was also the result of a confluence of events, a market that was going down, a crisis of immense proportions in Europe.
And you have volcanoes and oil spills.
Yes, exactly. Well, you put it all together, and it was a pretty messy mix on that day for the market. So are you of the opinion that without those outside influences, the system would have worked perhaps better than it did, or do you think that it's indicative that we have a real problem with the way the electronic markets work?
Well, it's probably indicative that there's some issues in the way the markets work that we could do better. But you're right, there were just so many issues revolving around at the same time. I can tell you, we were all in the cloakroom. Votes were going on the floor, and we were watching the ticker going along the bottom on the various channels, mainly your channel, looking at the channel as far as the issues that are going around there in different facets. And you had to look at it and say, boy, this is just a lousy day to be in the markets, considering all the variables that they had to consider at that point in time. But you add that to some of the things that you probably fix going forward, and I would hope that the SEC and the CFTC and the exchanges are able to come together and solve that problem.
Are you aware, though, that when you make that decision about the even application of circuit breakers across everybody, you have imposed something on a lot of companies' business models? You're changing their business model.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and that's why the one good thing as far as today's hearing is that we have a second panel, and that's some of the exchanges that'll be coming forward to give us their input on just that point, and that is something that I clearly want to hear from, and just how that will impact upon them as well.
Thank you, Congressman. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Funner than most. Yeah.